Hi everyone, it's Caitlin. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here. I have my August reading wrap up for you guys today and my September TBR all together. I have to preface with I'm a slow reader, so I don't get nearly as many books done as some other people do, but that's okay because it's just about the quality over quantity. I have 6 books that I read this month that I'm going to share with you and talk about. And then I have 4 on my September TBR that I want to discuss. Let's get right into it. So the first book I read this month was The Naturals. It was recommended to me by Heather McLary. I'll tag her videos reading this down below. This is a YA Criminal Minds mystery thriller. It follows 5 teenagers, specifically the main character Cassie, in this FBI training program, and they are supposed to be working on cold cases. However, as part of the thriller and mystery aspect, they get tied into these active cases with their FBI leaders and their mentors. This book follows Cassie in particular, and it follows her story and how she gets into the Naturals program, because the main point is that all of these kids, so all 5 of these teenagers, they're all like 17 or 18, they all have a special talent and ability. One of them can point out liars, one of them is like really great with statistics and facts, another one can read emotions, and 2 of them can profile like they do in the FBI. They can read people really well and read these MOs and these killers. So they are all tasked with solving this cold case, and they are being trained by these FBI agents. It's really, really interesting. I gave this 4.5 stars, I believe. If I mess up the rating, I will put the rating on the screen, but 4.5 stars. Then I read And If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English. This was recommended to me by a TikTok influencer who is a social worker and reads a lot of really great literary fiction and nonfiction, Haley. I'll tag her TikTok down below. She read this and highly recommended it. I read it, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really like it. I gave this 3 stars. I felt like 3 or 2.5 stars. Again, I'll put the rating on the screen. I didn't particularly like this. I felt like it was really confusing to follow. I was listening to it mostly on audiobook because the audiobook was super short. I mean, the book itself isn't very long, but I just preferred the audiobook on this one. It follows 2 characters in Egypt, in Cairo specifically. One of them, young woman who moved from America to Cairo to sort of discover her roots after her parents had already left Egypt. And the other perspective is from this man that lives in a poor village outside of Cairo, and he becomes really infatuated with her and fascinated by her, and they strike up this friends with benefits almost situation, this situationship, but it quickly devolves into something really crazy, and it's broken up into 3 parts. So the first and the second part follow these 2 characters, and then the third part follows, and I won't spoil the twist, but it follows other characters reliving this story. So it's a really interesting read. I think the premise of it was really interesting, but I just felt like the misogyny and the hatred towards women was really crazy in this, and I didn't particularly like that. The next book I read was First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. I just have to say, I loved this book. One of the first 5-star romances that I've read all year besides Emily Henry's Great Big Beautiful Life. I truly cannot recommend this book enough. It follows Lucy and her daughter, and her daughter calls in to this romance hotline where Aiden Valentine is the chair or the host, and her daughter basically talks to Aiden Valentine and is talking about how she feels like her mom is lonely and wants to find her a date. Lucy, who is pretty much oblivious to the fact that her daughter feels this way, winds up speaking to Aiden Valentine, and they strike up a conversation, and it goes viral. So this story follows Aiden and Lucy, and they're relationship and also co-working relationship because she begins to work at the hotline with him. It's really interesting. It's really heartwarming. I honestly breezed through it. It was 5 stars, 6 stars could have been. And I really think that this author wrote this romance really well. It was like, it had spice, but it wasn't the overall premise of the story, which I really appreciated. I don't really like to read spice. No harm to anyone that does. Love that for you. But for me, I really enjoyed, there was like 2 spicy scenes, maybe 3, and it was done really well. It wasn't like too much or too little. And their relationship was really great because it's very much grumpy sunshine, but with a twist, because there's the added element that the universe is working to put them together when one of them believes in love, one of them doesn't. Really great read. Highly, highly recommend. Okay, the next 2 books, I'm going to kind of lump them in together because they're both part of the Natural series. So the 4th book I read this month was Killer Instinct, which is the 2nd book in the Natural series. This book follows the whole gang as they embark on another cold case when an active case comes up and is reminiscent of a case that the FBI agents dealt with to get one of the kids. So they have to involve all the kids because it feels like it is a copycat of some sort. And so then they have to all be involved. It was a really great read. This was 5 stars for me, kept me on the edge of my seat. And I felt like it was just so well done. I genuinely couldn't put it down, and I loved reading it. I felt like all the characters really developed in this one, and you could see the dynamics between all the characters really well, especially the teenagers. And I felt like Cassie as a whole really grew in this one, and I really loved her character. Then I read All In, which is the 3rd book in the Natural series. And finally, the teenagers are allowed to work on active cases. So they are in Vegas for this one, following another one of the characters' like family circles almost, and how they're involved in a case. This one was really good. I rated it 4.5 stars just because it didn't capture my attention the way Killer Instinct did. But I felt like the characters really were building their found family. Like, you could definitely tell that the found family in this is going to play such a big role in the end of the series. And I felt like it was really well done. Honestly, all of these books have been really well done. I particularly loved the 2nd one, but this one was a really great read, really fun. Just not as thrilling, I think, as the other ones. Last, but certainly not least for my August wrap-up is Mockingjay. I finally finished the Hunger Games trilogy, and I will be reading The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. It's just not on my immediate radar. But I gave this one 4.5 stars. I felt like Mockingjay, the movie, which I've seen countless times, was so close to the book. It really was. There were a few aspects that I really wish were in the movie, like Joanna and Katniss's relationship and how that developed. I felt like that was a really big missing piece from the movie that we didn't get, and it's in the book and really makes for such a strong relationship between Katniss and the other victors, especially when it comes time for them to vote at the end of the book. So I felt like that was missing, but in terms of the book itself, I loved this book. I understand why people say it's like the weakest, maybe, or like not the best of the 3, because Catching Fire is just unmatched by all means. But this was so good. I was thrilled the whole time. I read it in 3 days, really. So I started it Friday and finished it today. It's thrilling. It's fast-paced. It's definitely like higher end YA. I can't believe we were reading this at like 13 because it's very gory and like deep in terms of like violence. But I really do think it's just a must-read book. The Hunger Games is must read, so I'm really glad that I picked this up, and I'm glad that I finished it. That was my August wrap up. Now, getting into my September TBR, I have 4 books that I want to read in September. My first book on my September TBR is The Collected Regrets of Clover. It's a book club pick for me, so I don't have it physically. I have it on Kindle Unlimited. So I'm going to be reading that this week to try and prep for book club on Sunday. But the physical books from my physical TBR that I'm pulling for September are these. The first one I want to get to is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. I don't know much about it other than it takes place in Alaska in the 1970s. It seems really interesting, and I really liked The Women by Kristen Hanna, so I'm really intrigued to pick up the next book by her. Then, I posted on my Instagram story that I wanted emotional devastation. So I was recommended to read A Little Life, which I already had on my physical TBR. So this is also on my list for September. All of these books are super long, so I'm pretty sure I'm only going to read maybe 4 books this month, maybe 5. I know this follows 4 college classmates and just their life in general and how their relationship and their found family impacts them. I know there's substance abuse and a lot of trauma in this book, but I'm prepared to be emotionally devastated. That is okay. It's what I want. Then, sticking to like the fall, cozy, emotional devastation vibes, I'm going with Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is my first R.F. Kuang book, and I'm really excited to dive in. I know Catabasis just came out. So before I dive into that and go buy that, I want to read this one first because it's already on my physical TBR. Again, don't know much about any of these books because I buy them, forget about them, and then realize they're on my physical TBR. But it says, 1828, Robin Swift, orphaned by cholera in Canton, is brought to London by the mysterious Professor Lovell. There, Robin trains for years in Latin, ancient Greek, and Chinese, all in preparation for the day he'll enroll in Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation, also known as Babel. Babel is the world's center for translation and, more importantly, magic. Silverworking, the art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation using enchanted silver bars, has made the British unparalleled in power as the arcane craft serves the empire's quest for colonization. For Robin, Oxford is a utopia dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge. But knowledge obeys power, and as a Chinese boy raised in Britain, he realizes serving Babel means betraying his motherland. As his studies progress, Robin finds himself caught between Babel and the shadowy Hermes Society, an organization dedicated to stopping imperial expansion. When Britain pursues an unjust war with China over silver and opium, Robin must decide, can powerful institutions be changed from within, or does revolution always require violence? I love the idea of this. I'm an English teacher, so this is really important to me. I will be reading this in September. And last but not least, how could you have a fall TBR without a Twilight book? I have not read Midnight Sun. This has been on my TBR shelf since 2021 when this came out. So this will definitely be getting read this fall. If not in September, definitely in October. I think I'm going to do a buddy read with my friend Brie on this one because we read Twilight together back in 2021 or 2020. It was a while ago. So I will be reading Edward's point of view, and I am so excited. But that is my August wrap up and my September TBR. Thank you so much for paying attention and listening to me yap for 15 minutes. I love you so much, and I hope you have a great day. If you stuck around this far, please comment below one book you want to read in the fall time, and you can leave a pumpkin. Is there a pumpkin emoji? I don't know. Some kind of fall emoji. Do a leaf. Do a little leaf emoji, and then comment what you want to read this fall. Bye, guys. I'm dissociating.